do have some information that Dave's going to present on some of the capital projects later on. We have started talking with Protective Harbor about our capital projects, the technology updates that we have going on. We have two schools, I believe it's Fourth and East, that are getting new teacher computers. We have the air conditioning, I believe. Those are on the server rooms. We're working on that. As far as the safety speakers, those are being installed. We have talked to Protective Harbor about the Mac Lab for the music tech and art tech. That'll be done during the week, Christmas week after Christmas. We're planning on coming in to do that. So that's moving forward. And we are moving forward with Chromebooks because we have gotten a bid. We've looked at what we need for our testing. We use Chromebooks for testing at TMS with almost no problems at all when we use the Chromebooks. We have been charged with the responsibility of providing fiscal responsibility, and the cost of Chromebooks is more than reasonable. We believe that with teachers who are looking for Google Apps for education, that's a good, they are clamoring for that. They are looking to do that, and some of them are already using it at TMS because they have Chromebook cards there. We are looking to update our curriculum and instructional strategies, and having more machines available to our students is important. We are also, we just feel that Chromebooks at this point are the best thing to meet our needs, that there is no malware because they are web-based and going out to the cloud and not downloading anything, that we're minimizing risks that we've been talking about a lot tonight. And we're not looking for something, I know that some people have talked about, durability sometimes, but we're not taking them home. We're not sending these home. They're not going to backpacks, they're not going on the bus. They're in cards controlled by teachers. And so I don't feel that the durability issue is really something that we need to be that concerned about. From what I understand, and I'm going to try not to talk computerese because I don't get it. I know some things that I've talked to Protective Harbor, and from what Mr. Luna has told me, he feels that we're in good shape, that he's got a couple of things he needed to work on as far as the infrastructure to make sure that he felt that they were safe for us to use, and that he is doing that, and that we are using our existing staff to put them together and to set them up. Mr. Luna is providing us with the instructions to do that, and we feel that this is the most fiscally responsible way for us to provide technology for our students, and that's where we're going with it. The order's gone in, and that's where we're heading. That's our update.
This is what we budgeted for in the budget process?
Yes.
So you're not telling us anything new?
I'm telling you, we're saving a lot. We're saving $75 per machine on installation because our library media specialists are doing the assembly with the help of Mr. Luna. He's providing us with the information that we need in order to do it ourselves. Ms. Magistrali is one of the folks who's doing that, Sarah Coolidge. We've also been working with Dylan Rogers and Nick Salavando from Protective Harbor on how we are going to best integrate Google Apps for app education into our curriculum and instruction. That's one of the things that they're charged with doing. And so we're actually saving $75 per machine.
So you have a net aspect to this? What the net is for this whole purchase and installation?
It's $220 times 175 and 3 cards. I don't have those numbers here. I do know that it's $38,500. $75 times 175. 13,000. We're saving 13,000 on the installation at THS alone, and approximately another 10 at the elementary schools.
And this has gone for budget, or you presented budget?
Say again?
You presented this to the budget committee, this projected saving?
We didn't know that's what it was going to be until we placed the order, so not yet, but
So just on Monday, right?
Yes, well, next Monday, a week before that.
We have another one.
We had one this Monday, and we weren't sure what the total cost savings were, but no, that had not gone to the budget committee. We just bring bad news to the budget committee. We don't. We're trying to bring some good news, but there's significant savings there. And we do feel that it is one of the ones, it is the machine that is recommended by the SBEC and MAP and Last Links testing, because it is exactly the kind of machine that they're looking for, no touch screen. And there was a problem with the, we did SBEC testing here at the high school last year. There was a problem that the SBEC browser was not compatible with the MAPS and the Lost Links browsers. You know, when they go out to the way they go out to the internet, there was a problem with it. And we had to actually remove one before we could install the other, so that was a problem. With the Chromebooks, because we don't ever download anything and it doesn't live here, it lives in the cloud, if you will, we don't have that problem. And that's one of the things that SBAC was recommending for testing, that we use that because there's no problem with incompatible browsers bumping up against each other. Does that make sense? So that's where we want to go with that.
Okay, as, I'm going to seat in my seat here. I'm going to try to do this very politely. You're informing us that you've decided to scrap the last 4 years of focusing on a Windows-based system that's secure and go to a web-based system using Chromebooks with no ability to lock the system down. What is the bandwidth requirements for each device going across the network that you're referring to? How much of a drain is that going to be on the bandwidth load balancers, as well as the fact of, do these go to an internal server that you're going to be setting up to host the Chromebooks? Or do these have to now go out to the web via the SEND connection?
My understanding is that they go out to the web.
So they're going out via the SEND connection?
When I've talked, and I can't honestly speak tech, but I am relying on the information that I'm getting from Mr. Luna, who said that we are in a position to be able to use that technology. And he does not have any particular animosity, if you will, towards using the Chromebooks. That he's comfortable that that will work for us, and that's a good solution for us.
Okay. My next question is, would you be willing to bring Mr. Luna forward to answer the technical aspects to my questions, which you are not able to answer this evening?
I will, except I'm going to put this out there, and I'm trying to also be very polite. We have had those devices approved in our capital budget.
You did not have
We have-
Chromebooks
we have-
approved in the capital budget.
We have Chromebooks, we have laptops, and I believe, and I'm trying to just be very, very
Polite.
polite. At some point, I would really appreciate it if the board would trust us to make the decisions that you have charged us with the responsibility of making. We have a budget. I have consulted with our technology vendor/director. I feel this is a good solution. It's a solution that is being used in almost every school district across Connecticut. I have personal experience with that in other school districts, and I feel that it is the best decision for Torrington at this time. It is both fiscally responsible, it provides our students with much-needed technology, and I really feel very strongly that at some point, the board needs to also trust the administration to make decisions that are best educationally for our students, and I feel that this is one of those.
But that's exactly why I asked the question before, and now you're really telling me, no, you did not budget this purchase.
We budgeted laptops and
Based upon what information that you gave to the board in the budget process?
According to the bid that I got from our IT vendor, who sent me the information when I asked him for the bid, that was what he gave us. $300 was $224 per machine plus $75 for installation is what the original bid was
For these items?
for that.
That was last year during our budget process. We had that lengthy presentation of option A, B, or C.
Okay.
That was for the grant, and that was for laptops. That was not for Chromebooks.
It wasn't clarified in the budget what type of laptop. It was laptop, $300. AC, how much ever it was, I'd have to check with Dave. Security speakers, and an amount. It wasn't item JX5267, blah, 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 Chromebook or whatever, EliteBook. It was laptop, air conditioning, safety speakers. We just listed those items. Now looking back, trying to be fiscally responsible and really talking to all staff members and students and looking at what our needs are, I'm concurring what Ms. Reitman is saying, that Chromebooks really are our best bang for our buck in terms of what we do.
I just wonder how the process, obviously I've talked about this before as far as the regulations and the ordinances pertaining to how we purchase things in the city of Torrington. They have been met clearly in this whole endeavor. I don't know if you're just telling me about this now, but the way you purchased this was based upon our city ordinances.
The approval of capital budget and.
No, you,
Yeah, but the purchase of it is an item or a purchase in excess of $10,000. So there has to be an RFP, there has to be multiple bidders, and then you select the bidder. And if it's above $10,000, a purchase of that magnitude is presented to the budget committee for approval of the vendor, be it transportation, be it whatever. And then that budget committee then takes that recommendation and either agrees with it or disagrees with it, and then budget brings it to the full board, and then we say, we like that transportation, IT, whatever.
and it doesn't matter whether
Regardless
it's
of the purchase.
a good deal or a bad deal, it's just, that's the process, and we want to make sure the
And I
administration,
have no problem with that. And we can,
and that was complied with.
well, I'm gonna say no.
What was that?
I'm gonna say no, because I was under the impression that that had already been approved, because the capital was approved. We can certainly come back to the board and do that.
Yeah, a budget was approved, but the actual purchase of it, be it, if the vendor holds the purchase, the vendor has to show that it was publicly bid. And if the purchase comes through your IT vendor, that vendor still has to hold an RFP and still has to present. Well, the vendor would then present to you, because in this situation, our director is a vendor. If it was textbooks, Sue would be charged with going out and getting a textbook bid to replace textbooks. So in this situation, our vendor is the director. So I would assume the vendor would hold the RFP and bring that result to the superintendent. Because we make our other directors responsible for RFPs. So, and then that would go to
I
you,
will take care of that.
and then-
First thing in the morning.
then that would, and
And I mean, ultimately, that's why we have a business manager to make sure these things are done. Obviously, I don't see the business manager here tonight, so I don't know what he has to say about how this process was handled. But I'm listening to Mr. Treebolt, and he seems to have the same concerns.
I will take care of that.
And
tomorrow.
this, like I said, this is something we've been dealing with for a year now. We're constantly trying to make sure that this issue should be
And
done.
Mr. Nargi, I understand completely, and I misunderstood the process, and I will take care of that tomorrow, make sure that it's rectified.
yes, Nan, sorry.
Linda, I very much appreciate how polite you're being this evening and your ability to say things in a very nice manner, and I thank you for that. Please allow me to return the favor. It has nothing against trusting administration or not trusting administration. When I came on this board in 2010, our entire computer system was a disaster. It was 10 years of letting administrations make decisions, and every time a new administrator came in, a new decision was made, a new direction was put forward. We'll go with Windows. We'll go with netbooks, which I believe is what Sue had over at Forbes for a while, and then she had Windows-based PCs, and then she had a few Macs. And everybody comes in with a new idea, and this is the best thing since sliced bread. So when I came on and everything was a jumbled mess, nothing was standardized, there was no focus on it, and nobody knew what was going on the network. One of the things that I was lucky enough to have the board stand behind me on was fixing technology, standardizing, putting it all correct, minimizing how much bandwidth goes over the network. So that way there, as we grew, we could look at possibly doing what the students want with a bring your own device. Adding on the ability, because the moment you add a device to a network, you add traffic. The more traffic you have, the slower the network goes. That's inevitable. So to turn around and spend the last 2 years ripping everything apart, getting rid of all the thin clients that somebody thought was a good idea, getting rid of all the netbooks that somebody thought was a good idea, getting rid of all the other wonderful technologies that somebody thought was a good idea and was going to save us money at the time, that cost us a fortune to fix and replace and to maintain. And as the police department in Torrington found out with their voice over IP system, bad ideas, their phone system goes down for almost a full day on November 6th, and we make national news because it was a good idea that failed miserably. A lot of things sound like a good idea. You have to have a technical understanding to know why things are being done a certain way. Now you're saying Mr. Luna has approved this, and he's saying yes, he can support it, and yes, network can support it. Knowing the fact that you have a 1 gigabit connection to send coming out of this building, knowing the fact that out of that 1 gigabit connection to send, which goes out to the internet, you're only actually getting 750 megabit download speed. Now you're going to turn around and put on how many devices on the network with the Chromebooks? 125 Chromebooks. Now, assuming each Chromebook only requires a megabit of bandwidth each, you're taking down almost 15% of the district's, not the buildings, the district's ability to access the internet just to support your Chromebooks. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered in this. You don't have those answers. I would like to see somebody that does, and I appreciate the fact that administration wants some ability to make decisions, but the fact is that the board was going in an entirely different direction for the last several years. After people kept trying to say, this is working, turns out it wasn't. They went in directions, everything's been working for the last year. Things are finally up and running. People can access Power School, and it's not taking 35, 40 minutes for them to get on. There's a reason for that. To understand the technical reasons, you have to have a technical background or have somebody that can explain it to you. It's entirely possible that administration did go through that process of having IT involved the entire process through. It sounds a lot more like the end users were asked what they wanted, not tell me what you need to do and let IT decide what the hardware is. An end user never gets to pick hardware. They get to say, this is what I need to do for an application. And then it's up to IT to figure out what hardware is required to accomplish that. That's always the way it works.
Yes.
We pay an IT director. We pay a lot of money for our IT service. So I don't understand why we're this involved in the details of the IT. We don't get this involved in curriculum or textbook purchases. If we have issues with the decisions that our IT director comes to.
I'm asking that.
But are we doing this, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere on this issue. We're spending a tremendous amount of time, and it's great that you and Jim may understand this, but the rest of us don't, and that's why we're paying substantial money to hire a company to do this.
I understand that. However, until we hired the company, everything was done willy-nilly within the district.
Right, but we've had it
And
now for years. And
we've had it down for-
Afford at this level of IT things that we know nothing about.
But for 2 years, we had everything going down one standardized path. And now what they're doing is reversing that entire course with what they're doing.
They're buying the same Chromebooks that were bought last year. They bought, how many credits did they school?
The middle school?
Weren't the cards bought for
We
the
got-
middle school last year?
We had computer cards
We
purchased
had-
last year.
But the computers that go in.
I'm trying, 13. I don't think they were all last year, but.
Well, it came out of that. grant.
Yeah.
So they bought those within the last year and a half.
Right.
Safe to say.
Right. And obviously, teacher computers would be desktop computers, they would not be Chromebooks. Every single technical high school in the state of Connecticut has Chromebooks. Like Ms. Reitman was saying, 99% of the schools in Connecticut use Chromebooks.
I would
But that's
assume-
why you have a budget process, and that's why wasn't it presented in the manner in which you're now actually doing it during the budget process back in March and April? That's my only concern. I'm not,
This was exhaustively discussed in March and April.
Similarly to how it is tonight.
Yes, we went through IT and how to purchase and what was in the budget. And, I mean, we've been through that budget every way we possibly could.
and yet Mr. Trepo doesn't
It's
seem.
T-ball, by the way, you're killing me with this T-ball.
TiVo.
T-ball.
Yes. You're killing me.
Just call me Dan.
Okay.
But
No, Art. No.
I believe with them having to go out to bid, they're gonna put a bid out, and it's going to be for specs. And then those specs, you will get bids from different vendors, and I would assume you're going to get different manufacturers, different makes. Am I correct in this from an IT standpoint? You would put out a spec of a computer, memory, RAM, whatever. That's all I know. Don't know any more.
Then you can talk some more.
Yeah, and then you'll get bids, 3 bids, or more, but you have to have it, and then that'll get presented, I'm assuming by the IT director to you. You would then present it to the budget committee would then present it to the board. Yeah, I mean, and then we may see HPs come in. You may see, I always say, Ace or whatever the other brands you guys are throwing on, Apple.
But the
Good.
director of IT and the administration should figure out what we're getting.
Yes, I
We
think
are
the
not
bid
going to sit
process.
here and talk about what computers we're buying, and another year is going to go by, the kids aren't going to have any computers.
No, I'm saying the bid process should produce for us a
Correct.
cost-effective device for what the district needs. They're gonna give it certain parameters, they gotta give us a device that does this.
Right. We approve the dollars.
Right. And then it comes to us as, this is the, same with busing, you know, this comes to us as, these are the bus contract we're gonna use, copy your contract, whatever, because it's over $10,000.
Right, I think the only hiccup is the RFP, and that's it, and Linda's.
I think the
said she's
RFP
gonna
might
take care of it.
solve a lot of Dan's concerns. It may not come back as Chromebooks as the least, most best effective way to do it. Who knows? Let's see what the bid yields, and then we can weigh out all the options based on their credibility and their cost.
But that's not what Dan is concerned about. He's talking about why the board doesn't know that we're going in a different direction.
Right, but the point is, if we gotta do the RFP, right, so then we have to have options, then that discussion can happen, because we don't really know yet, because we just solidified the fact that we have to go through the RFP process, so we're gonna have a debate and a discussion about something that hasn't even been presented. That makes no sense. It's
That's why-
kinda time to move on to the next topic.
That's why it needed to be discussed in detail during the capital process, or capital budget formation. of
No, the
what-
dollars and
Well, it
cents
wasn't bid
needed to
that-
be
It
discussed.
wasn't bid that far back.
Discuss
No,
the
I'm not talking about the
RFP.
bid, I'm talking about what Dan's really talking about, which is, he's saying we're going in a different direction.
There's no
It's not,
effect.
it's not,
There's no effect. All we're here to approve is the dollar.
then I guess I misunderstood.
No, when you misunderstand, there's a philosophical difference between what Dan believed or believes
Dan
that the
thought
board is
we were-
heading. Look, Chromebooks were purchased over the last 18 months for the middle school. I mean, Chromebooks have been being purchased, and the IT department has not had an issue with that. If they did, I would assume we would have heard.
Then I guess I didn't misunderstood what you were saying.
No, I think
No.
you understand what he's saying.
No, you did not misunderstand what I was saying. I was unaware of the fact that Chromebooks were being purchased. I was aware of the fact that we had 14 laptop cards to purchase. I was not informed there were Chromebooks.
There-
When we sat before City Council last year and Board of Finance, they were emphatic about going through the fact that we were spending $1,200 on a laptop, and they wanted to know why. And I was emphatic about explaining to them the fact that they're military grade, they come with 4-year warranties, including the batteries. If a student drops them, anything happens to them, they're 100% covered. And you're saying that apparently those were not really purchased, they were actually Chromebooks that were purchased instead. Which now means I officially lied to the Board of Finance and City Council, which doesn't make me happy.
Did you sign the code of ethics?
Yes.
You may have some ethical problems.
I don't know, I said what was in the budget, what was in the presentations.
Well, we'll get the RFP out, we'll get the bids, we'll see what comes in as the product, and then we'll move. So we'll see what comes in. You still with us, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. It's you. Oh, no, staffing reports, I skipped one, I'm sorry. Go back to staff. Go back to me.
No, it's me again, lucky everybody.
Yes.
Staffing reports from the last month. Nothing really phenomenal going on. Unfortunately, we saw an uptick again in absences. So that was a bit disappointing. The most interesting fact so far is that you will find under the Monday, Friday reports, the fact that we've had one teacher who's managed to miss 1 Monday and 5 Fridays so far since the beginning of the school year. Another teacher that's missed 2 Mondays and 3 Fridays since the beginning of the school year. And another teacher that's missed 1 Monday and 3 Fridays. So that was a bit curious to see the fact that somebody was actually able to take almost a long weekend, every weekend since the start of the school year. And let me get back. Wait for the iPad to catch up. And then, as you go down through, there's even more that end up being higher, including individuals that have missed as many as 20 days so far this school year. And with only 70 days so far in the school year, that means they've missed a third of the school year so far. We've had several individuals that have missed upwards of 20 days.
Excuse me for a second?
Yes.
The one that you said a couple of teachers have missed 20 days already?
We have one teacher that's missed 17, one professional that's missed 20.
Okay, on the one that missed the 17,
Yes.
you've got doctor's notices on those? I
Our
thought after 8, they had to provide a doctor's notice.
8 consecutive.
Take it a second.
So if you do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday,
That's not
Those are not consecutive.
I understand that, so you can just continue to do that. And that's
Until you
little
use up
loophole.
however many days you are looking to take. Some individuals can have up to 210 days of sick time. Particularly in their last year or two of, they may decide to take some time off.
Are we talking just based upon our contract, or are we talking about state law that allows
Our
for people
contract.
to utilize so-called sick days for days that they just don't want to come to work?
Well, I would think we were gonna have to, at this point, presume that they're not feeling well.
Yes.
We don't have any reason to assume that this person is not ill. We negotiate contracts with the bargaining units based on legal
Well,
advice.
who would put in that it has to be 8 consecutive days?
It's pretty standard.
We did, you did,
It's pretty standard.
we all did, we
It
voted on it.
stands so that if you're sick every other day,
Yes. I'll give you an example. Local 1150, the union that represents the employees at Sikorsky, theirs is a 5-day consecutive rule. After 5 days consecutive, you have to provide a doctor's note. So it's a little more restrictive than the 8-day, but you could take every other day off until you used your entitlements and nobody can question it. It's part of the CBA. You can not like it, that's fair.
I thought teachers had a limited amount of sick days per year, and it totals 100. So that person would have to,
They
that
gain-
person would have to accumulate 180 days.
Right.
So that person would have to be a 10-year employee. Is that the case?
We don't know who.
We don't know.
You don't know who the individuals are.
What does the administration know?
Yes, the
And what-
administration
Did
is,
they explain to you any of this?
they have not explained, that,
They've explained what they legally
Can
can't
do.
explain, because there are privacy laws. They've explained that the person that you're referring to has not violated the contract and is not investigated because there's no contract violation.
So we're to assume this person's at least a 10-year veteran who's missed
And we
these.
can also assume that the administrators are doing their job
Well, I don't assume
and
that.
following.
Actually, at this point, we
I
can
don't.
assume that this person has had 17 sick days this year. We can't assume that they have 200, because they haven't taken 200. They've taken 17.
Right, and to
So
get.
we don't know if it's a 10-year person, a 2-year person, a 40-year person. And you can't make that assumption. If someone gets up into 100 sick days, you can make the assumption that they've been here a while.
Right,
But 17, you're not there
it's
yet.
just 1 year.
Right.
Right. Look,
If
it's
this is the
out-
same
it-
person in
no,
February, you can have a different conversation.
You know, we've been talking about this being outrageous for 8 years, and I don't know about your industry, if you guys don't have a problem with, in the private sector, having this type of loophole where they.
It's not about a like or dislike, it's a collectively bargained agreement. So
Right.
it's already been agreed to. You can,
Right.
like I said, you cannot like it. Other than that, that's it.
We have negotiating
Like they said,
committees.
there's no violation of the contract, if there's no violation of the contract,
Right. We have negotiating committees, which everybody's a part of. If you're unhappy with it, attend your negotiations and be part of it.
Look, I'm unhappy with things that I have no ability to do anything about that are mandated by state legislation.
You've actually missed 7 negotiation
No, that
meetings
isn't
with
what
the
I'm talking about.
administrators that
I'm
you
talking
were on
about-
that
I'm
group,
talking-
and you've done them. Let me
Yes,
finish.
I'm talking
You
about
didn't
sick
come.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
we're
been talking about
negotiating
sick
a
days 8
contract
years
right now,
ago.
Andrew.
About why we can't do something to be compensated for sick days.
And we're
And we
negotiating,
can't do anything because of state legislation.
you don't even want to listen, do you?
I know what you're saying, and I.
No, you don't know what I'm saying. You are on a
I
committee that
can't,
you're not
if
attending.
I go there and bang
So
on
go there and be
everybody's-
part of the
I
process. Don't
can't-
sit here and complain about
You
it.
can't negotiate.
These young people came out tonight
Yes,
to be
you
part of a
can't
process.
negotiate these sick days away, the way
Yes, you
you
can.
would.
sure you can.
Wow,
It's
see,
a
again,
negotiation.
Because.
1579
We
lowered
had this
their,
discussion 8 years ago.
yeah, all right, but in this last year,
Yes,
if you were with us,
okay,
1579 lowered the number of sick days to carry forward.
okay,
Did you know that?
no,
When you voted on the contract.
okay.
The teachers voted to lower their number of sick days to carry forward. Did you know that?
To carry forward.
Yeah, they can't accumulate all these sick days. Did you know that?
To what?
Did you know that they reduced
To
it?
how many?
1 year.
To 180 days.
Yeah, but they're
So
down
how's
from
that
235.
relevant to this person taking 18, 17?
It's not. The point is, if you want to be part of the solution, be part of the process. Don't just come here and bitch.
You're not.
Go to the meetings and be part of it. All right, that's what I'm saying. These kids have gone out of their way to be part of the process, and you're an elected official
Well,
and you don't.
I guess you
It's
have no
frustrating.
problem with the fact that you've got someone in this school district who's already taken 17 sick days. And
I
cost us
understand
that
thousands of
someone-
dollars in some time.
That's not the issue.
I
Yeah,
understand that
the issue
someone
is
is
that's
part
the
of
issue I'm
a
talking about. You
union
don't
that
understand what I'm talking about.
I am part,
I'm sorry, that I did not explain to you what I'm talking about.
You're upset the person took days off, and it's not a violation of the contract.
Right.
Your opinion is nice to hear, but it's frankly a waste of time right now because it doesn't violate the daggone contract, period.
Right.
So I don't even know what the discussion is.
If you want to change the contract.
If you want to change,
All right.
you've got to
Dan, what else you
negotiate,
have?
but you don't.
Dan, what else do you
Point of order,
have?
let's move on.
Basically, the one good thing that has occurred is that our costs compared to last year are lower for our sick time. So we've saved almost $1,000 on the teachers for substitutes for the month. The challenge with that becomes the paraprofessionals, where we've actually increased our costs by, sorry, this is refreshing. Our para costs went up by almost 2,000. So unfortunately, we're actually still net behind compared to where we were last year. It's good to see that at least there is some fluctuation there, so we're not entirely in the red, only partial.
Any questions on the staffing reports?
I just have one comment.
Yes.
The board is structured so that we have subcommittees that discuss these issues, and we have board meetings to get information. And many of us sat on Monday night through this whole staffing report discussion. So I'm hopeful that this board is going to address subcommittees, what's appropriate at subcommittee level and what's appropriate at the full board level, because we cannot continue to spend this kind of time on issues at the board level when numerous hours are being spent at subcommittee level.
So at that subcommittee meeting that I did not attend, you addressed the issue of how to somehow deal with a chronic problem that has plagued this district to approximately $500,000, give or take, every year that I've been on this board for sub-time for people that are not showing up for whatever reason.
Because contractually.
And you dealt with that Monday night.
We talked about it, yes.
And what
we
was
did.
and what were some of the
By
solutions that you
contract,
had?
these employees are entitled to these days. There's not a heck of a lot you can do. Yeah.
Well, so then
It's
why did you
information.
discuss it at the subcommittee if there's
We
nothing you can
did
do
at
about it?
length, and now
But
we're discussing it again
what was your
tonight.
resolution? What
The resolution was in each of
that
the
you can't
contracts.
do anything about it?
Go to negotiations, go to
In
subcommittee.
each of the contract negotiations, we have fought to lower the number of days that they can carry forward to lower the city's future exposure to the exact topic you're talking about. That's what we're doing. And again, please come and be part of the process because you're missing your meetings. Hi, Dave. You want to go take the front seat, or you want to go hide behind a pole? or-
Think I want to stand? Are you kidding me?
Mr. Allen is running for the door, so you better get an automatic lock to keep him here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up around here, I feel a little more comfortable. I gotta get out the door, I'm running. Okay. This particular piece is, we're gonna discuss, I'm just gonna give you a quick overview of what we discussed in the Capitol and why we're discussing this tonight. This is the ADA project that continues to plague us every year, that we have to comply with the state. All started with our voluntary action plan that we took a few years back, if you remember, and we all agreed that we were going to be bringing Torrington High School back up to ADA compliance. A few of the things that we're working on quickly is our lavatory modifications, our kitchen, our auditorium, and the larger of the group would be the labs, science rooms, and offices throughout the A building. What I have, we all know Joe Ellicott. I have him up here to just help us with part of the. He brought a plan there to give us part of the reasoning behind this. Joe, if you want to say something, and I'll pick up at the end.
Good evening. I'll be brief. Many of you have been through this process before, where we have an educational specification which we write, which is pretty much just a guideline. We've been working on this, as David mentioned, for several years, and this portion, it deals with the interior part of the school, specialized areas, as David mentioned, theater, science classrooms, laboratories, things of that nature. There are clearances issues, some door issues. If, on a couple of photographs there, you can sort of see that anyone in a wheelchair or anyone with disabilities would have a hard time using some of the facilities for laboratories or science rooms. So this process and for this project will deal with those issues. The educational specifications, which are, I believe were in your package from last week, sort of list the generic terminology that we'll be using for this process, and that's what needs to be voted on and moved forward to the city council, and then we can apply for the grant with the state. The reimbursement still is over 70% for this process. It is a code violation project, American with Disabilities Act, and that's pretty much the the scope for this project. That we'll be dealing with mainly interior areas as we've just finished the exterior site work this past year. If there's any other, if you have any questions, or for anybody who hasn't been through this process earlier in previous years, feel free. But that, we'd be looking for some of the motions to be made this evening to move the project on.
Briefly, the importance of what this little dog and pony show here is right now is to get the board to make the right motions with the proper language, so we can actually bring this to the state application for reimbursement. That really is the main, the big part of this bidding that's going to be happening here shortly is going to be, there's still, we have to remember, this is a 1962 building, and when we take things out and we remove walls and whatnot, there's going to be an asbestos possible abatement that's going to happen. So we're going to have to, when this RFP goes out for bidding and everything, there's going to have to be a special abatement contractor involved, and he's going to have to come up with plans for all this and everything. So it's going to be quite a process. So that's why we're definitely going to the state for our reimbursement. So I can try to answer any questions if anybody has any right now. We're good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up next.
Okay.
You're still up.
All right. Forgot my stuff in my next.
Joe's free.